Okay, your objection's noted.
Blake Lively is now begging the judge for mercy because Taylor Swift just blew up secrets she thought were buried forever.
Prepared my remarks and my decision here today.
But Taylor didn't stand alone. Her father stepped in and shut Blake down with a line that hit like a gavel. "My daughter isn't your toy to play with." Blake Lively walked into court like it was a brunch reservation. Hairstyled, gloss. On, PR smile locked in. She thought the 2025 pretrial hearing would be routine. A few signatures, a nod from the judge, and she'd be off to lunch with Ryan. Instead, she walked into a public career execution.
I am glad I had the opportunity to spend the night to do some deliberation on this matter and think about it.
And what did she get? Not silence, not sympathy. What she got was Judge Curtis Y.M. Lennox storming out of court twice in 2 weeks. A federal judge who's seen every courtroom circus walked out because Blake, her lawyers, and her PR games wasted his time twice. Not even toddlers in daycare get abandoned that fast.
You're excused.
And the trigger? Redacted financials, hush money trails, evidence cover-ups that could make a mob boss sweat. Blake handed over documents with half the numbers blacked out, like this was some curated Instagram post, not federal court.
It was excluded in the first place because it was propensity evidence.
याद है प्रिजर्व, वो लाइफस्टाइल ब्रांड जो ब्लेक ने लॉन्च किया था, जिसे असली जिंदगी को रेवोल्यूशनाइज करना था। हाँ, वही। असल में वो एक शाइनी मास्क था, अंदर से फिल्ड विद NDAs, हश मनी डील्स और एक PR माफिया जो एम्प्लॉइज को चुप करवाता था। अब वही ब्लेक कोर्ट में खड़ी है, क्रोकोडाइल टीयर्स के साथ जज से मर्सी की भीख मांग रही है। क्यों? क्योंकि टेलर स्विफ्ट के लीक्ड टेक्स्ट्स और गवाहियों ने उसकी सारी कहानी को झूठ साबित कर दिया, बिल्कुल उस तरह जैसे ग्लास हाउस पे रेकिंग बॉल गिर जाए। उसका लॉयर चला गया, PR टीम तुत गई और उसकी इमेज अब पब्लिक BBQ पे रोस्ट हो रही है। और अब ब्लेक बेचारी बन के कह रही है, प्लीज योर ऑनर, वो वक्त भूल जाएं जब मैंने अपनी बेस्ट फ्रेंड को धमकाया और स्टाफ को पैसा देकर चुप कराया। नाइस ट्राई ब्लेक। लेकिन जब टेलर स्विफ्ट कोर्ट को तुम्हारे प्राइवेट टेक्स्ट पकड़ाए और जज का चेहरा पर्पल हो गया, वहां से फिल्म के एंड क्रेडिट्स तक जंप करना अलाउड नहीं होता। चलिए बात करते हैं उस इनफेमस मोमेंट की जिसने सब कुछ पलट दिया। द एस्पेन वाइन ग्लास इंसिडेंट। एक फॉर्मर एम्प्लॉय न बुलाई गई थी, लेकिन डर के बावजूद कोर्ट में खड़ी हुई और कैजुअली सुनाया HR का सबसे डिस्टर्बिंग हॉरर स्टोरी। फ्लैशबैक टू 2015। प्रिजर्व का विंटर रिट्रीट हो रहा था एस्पेन में, वो इलीट इवेंट जहां लोग वाइन सिप करके टाइपोग्राफी डिस्कस करते हैं। लेकिन ब्लेक फुल मेल्टडाउन मोड में एक मिस्ड डेडलाइन पे इतनी भादकती है कि एक भरा हुआ वाइन ग्लास पूरे रूम में उछाल देती है। ग्लास सीधा जाके एक एम्प्लॉई के शोल्डर पे लगता है। 6 स्टिचेस, नर्व ब्रूजिंग। और फिर ब्लेक क्या करती है? एक $40,000 का चेक थमा देती है उस लड़की को विद अ स्वीट लिटिल NDA। हॉस्पिटल रिपोर्ट? किचन एक्सीडेंट। क्योंकि ब्लेक के एम्पायर में असॉल्ट बाय ग्लासवेयर अनिमाइश मफिन बनाते हुए गिर गए। और हाँ, लेस्ली स्लोन, ब्लेक की लॉयल PR क्वीन, आगे चालकार। Blake's PR puppet master didn't just spin the Aspen incident, she erased it. The whole thing was scrubbed clean like a Vogue cover edit. And in case you're wondering if that evidence showed up during discovery, don't bother. It didn't. Internal Slack messages even showed staff joking about Blake's tantrums like they were part of a daily sitcom. The judge's reaction? He slammed the gavel, twice, then straight up walked out. Imagine being so unprofessional that a federal judge says, "You know what? I'm out," mid-hearing. That's not legal drama, that's reality TV. And no, we're still not done with Preserve. You remember, the brand that flopped so hard it needs its own Wikipedia cautionary tale? Everyone thought it died in 2016 from bad design or zero sales. Nope. Turns out it collapsed under a mountain of lies, NDAs, psychological warfare, and pure chaos. According to newly unsealed court records, staff were working brutal 60 to 80-hour weeks, grossly underpaid, and threatened with termination if they dared ask questions. Questions like, "Hey Blake, why does this office feel like a hostile dungeon?" But of course, no one asked out loud, unless they wanted to be quietly replaced with the next trendy Instagram influencer. And let's not forget the hush money. Not 1 or 2 silencing deals. 5. That's 5 separate settlements uncovered by investigators, totaling over $200,000, all designed to keep the brand's glossy image intact while the people behind it bled in silence. Buried under PR. Expenses, like she was buying luxury candles, except instead of candles, she was buying silence. It took whistleblowers leaking unredacted financial records to blow the lid off because Blake's team submitted reports so blacked out they looked like CIA files hit by a Sharpie. Her excuse? Clerical discretion. Girl, no, that's not a typo. That's fraud in designer heels. Prosecutors literally held both versions, original and edited, side by side in court and showed the judge exactly what she tried to erase. And when Judge Lennox asked for an explanation, Blake's team served up PR spin. PR spin. In federal court, that's like trying to tame a dragon with a Yankee candle. So what did Judge Lennox do? What any sane person would do when faced with Olympic-level nonsense? He walked out. Again. Slammed the gavel. Dropped the mic. Left the building, because at that point this wasn't a hearing, it was a 3-ring circus, with a blonde ringmaster who thinks NDAs are the same thing as loyalty oaths. And where's Blake now? Exactly where she earned herself. No lawyer. No PR shield. No fangirl defense. Just her, stuck in legal quicksand, hoping the court forgets that she tried to rewrite reality using a Google Doc and an amicus brief ghostwritten by her PR intern. The only thing Preserve is preserving now? Receipts and trust. Prosecutors have them all. So, shall we talk about Bernie now? Good old Bernard Collins, Preserve's creative director, the guy Blake threw under the bus the second the harassment claims surfaced. For a hot second, everyone blamed him for the whole cesspool. Blake's defense? I had no idea Bernie was doing all that shady stuff. Like she wasn't in the meetings. Like she wasn't signing his paychecks. Like she wasn't literally calling every shot. Cute, right? But that fantasy blew up fast, because then the chat logs dropped, and they weren't just bad. They were career-ending bad. Turns out Blake didn't just know about Bernie's behavior, she shielded it, encouraged it, enabled it. Why? Because Bernie had edgy branding. Yep. In Blake's twisted handbook, toxic workplace behavior plus a design. Portfolio equals innovative leadership. And yes, we have quotes. Actual quotes. Blake dismissed multiple harassment complaints as overblown sensitivity. And about one female employee, she literally said, "Keep her on payroll. She photographs well." That's not just cold. That's Disney villain origin. Story level. Imagine being the woman who filed a complaint, and your entire value is reduced to looks good in team photos. And just when you think the bar can't drop any lower, Bernie's own lawyer flips. Yes, his lawyer. Even he admitted Blake's office was the one pulling the strings, managing the narrative, silencing victims, and using Bernie as a human shield. Blake didn't light the fire and run. No. She handed Bernie the matches, struck one herself, posed in front of the flames, and probably pitched it as a Pinterest mood board. And the prosecution? They're not treating this like some isolated scandal. They're calling it a systemic abuse model, a power structure built to silence, manipulate, and protect the brand at all costs. At Preserve, PR wasn't a department. It was the whole operation. A glorified smoke machine to keep fans clapping while employees quietly bled. And speaking of smokescreens, let's talk about Taylor Swift, the unexpected grenade in Blake's fairy tale. So when the ship started sinking, what did Blake do? She called up Taylor Swift, her supposed ride or die, and begged her to say something public. She wanted Taylor to drop a sweet little press release defending her, something like, Blake was just an unaware CEO. Oh, honey, if this is what unaware CEOs do, I don't even want to see them when they're being intentional. Taylor's answer? A respectful no. She said she wouldn't comment on an active legal case, especially one involving actual victims. Seems fair, right? But that didn't sit well with Hollywood's most entitled boss lady. Blake went full mean girl and fired off an unhinged text to Taylor. After a decade, you owe me. This friendship lives or dies by loyalty. Translation: lie for me or I'll torch your world, Taylor. She clapped back with a single surgical line. That's not how loyalty works. No fluff, no theatrics, just cold, clean, legally fatal. The digital equivalent of handing Blake a shovel and saying, feel. Free to finish burying your career. And who leaked those texts? Blake's own former PR executive, now under subpoena, and their statement. Brutal. She's been trying to manipulate everyone, and yes, I've got the receipts. The judge's reaction? He didn't call it celebrity fallout. He didn't call it messy friend drama. He called it exactly what it was. Witness manipulation. Blake didn't just lose a best friend, she added another felony-worthy footnote to her already flaming disaster file. But of course, she wasn't done trying to bend the rules. When the real evidence wasn't swinging her way, Blake reached for her favorite lifeline, PR camouflage. Enter the months-late amicus brief, submitted by advocacy groups like the California Women's Law Center. Sounds noble, right? Until you realize it had nothing to do with her actual case. Blake's team paraded in respected women's orgs to make her look like some martyr, as if her personal scandal was every woman's struggle against injustice. Meanwhile, Judge Lennox was sitting there, holding redacted bank statements, harassment claims, and threatening texts to Taylor Swift. Like, girl, what courtroom are you in? And it gets worse. The brief, filed 2 months late, way past the legal deadline, and, shock, it came with a press release. From the LA Times, no less. Because of course it did. This wasn't about justice, it was about optics. Blake basically tried to turn a federal courtroom into a sympathy tour. But instead of applause, she got a verbal smackdown from Judge Lennox, who called it what it was, irrelevant emotional leverage. Emotional leverage.